Hey everybody, welcome to the Herd Fit Podcast with Dr. Sam Rhee and myself, Coach David Syvertsen. This podcast is aimed at helping anyone and everyone looking to enhance their healthy lifestyle through fitness, nutrition, and most importantly, mindset. All right, welcome back to the Herd Fit Podcast. I am Coach David Syvertsen. I'm here with Dr. Sam Rhee. We have another big deal guest here. This is actually my business partner of pretty much a decade now, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. This is Chris Tafaro. Welcome, Chris.
Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
I'm normally the biggest guy on the podcast, but I am now feel like a Barack right now. I'm sitting next to Chris.
He's just out of see half of Sam.
But anyway, we're going to start a series. We don't even know how many episodes it's going to be. We're just going to let this flow and we'll see how it goes. But this is really going to be a fun time for us. We're going to talk about the backstory of CrossFit Bison and the long history. I actually started talking to Chris about this in the fall, and here we are the week after our 8th year anniversary. So we're actually in Bison year number 9 of actual operation, and just feel like it's good timing. We're just days away from the CrossFit Open, which is a huge deal here at Bison. There's a lot of fun talk that we can get into. We'll probably have some funny stories to share for you. We do have a lot of people that listen to the podcast that were not around when we opened up. And I think it's really cool for them to be able to hear where this place came from, because I think a lot of them don't truly understand how bottom of the barrel this place started off as with Chris and I, just like what we were doing when we started. But we also know that there's a lot of people that listen to this podcast outside of Bison, and we want to make sure we keep this interesting for them, in that it's not only going to be a biography of CrossFit Bison. There's been a lot of changes both in the world, but within the CrossFit space as a whole, that directly relate to how we operate here. And for anyone out there that wants to just get a different perspective, improve their gym, maybe even someday open up their own, I think there's a lot of things you can learn from us. And that is, we probably have more mistakes than success stories that you could learn from. This isn't just hey, do a Sam. Any more on that?
Yeah, I wanted to thank all our listeners and subscribers and viewers. It means a lot when we get comments and feedback. I want to shout out to everyone who let us know that we were part of their commute or part of their day, including our fellow CrossFit Bison members who listen to us faithfully. Joni was mentioning it the other day. Our friend Keith Andrews, who works for Tops. And also people like Davin Quarshi in Georgia and Andrew Anselmo in Dallas. They reached out to us. We've finished 36 episodes, over 5,000 listens and views. If there's something that you want discussed, let us know. We discuss topics all the time about what people bring up, and hopefully we can make it part of the podcast in the future. For me, the reason why I'm excited about this is not only as your friend or a member, a coach, employee, is that origin stories are important. The reason why we do origin stories is not just to reminisce or praise ourselves, but it's to explain why you guys do what you do every day. It guides you, how it continues to change what you do, how it influences you in the future. And that's really good information for me and everyone else. I listened to Chris Spieler talk about Park City CrossFit and his origin, and I learned so much, and mainly because it was a no-holds-barred podcast. He talked about all the warts, all the problems he had. And despite all of your roadblocks or differences between you two, you guys have made this into an incredibly successful place. And Nelson Mandela once said, I never lose, I either win or learn. And you guys have wins, but you guys have a lot of learns as well over the time. And I think that anyone listening to this is going to get a lot out of it.
Awesome.
Yep, thank you.
Cool. So let's start off with just, because Sam and I are on all these episodes, I think we just get a little bit of background info on Chris. Chris is here. For those that come early in the morning or late at night, you may never see Chris, but Chris is here every day, and he's been here pretty much every day since the start. At the very least, very much involved. He's really, if you want to label us, I'm like the dumb meathead jock coach, and he's the smart financier. But Chris, give us a little bit of background info on you, and then we'll get into the CrossFit stuff.
All right. I like to think of it more as you're like the manager of the restaurant, like the floor manager. And I take care of the back end stuff, the less sexy stuff. But that's my personality. I think so. That's why the personalities work well.
Yep.
I'm 9 years older than you.
Yeah. Okay.
I met Dave in a financial job. It was the end of my careers in the finance world, and it was Dave's first job. I was 13 years in on a energy futures trading desk, and Dave had recently joined the group. I think about a year.
Yeah, about a year before you were in there. Yeah.
I had just gotten into CrossFit and I wasn't coaching yet. And me and Dave talked about working out in sports a lot. I said, when you move to Hoboken or whatever, you got to go to CrossFit Hoboken. You're going to love it. We worked out a couple of times in like the regular Globo gym together.
And plus, like, we were two guys on a desk full of guys that did not work out.
Yeah.
So, like, you just look at each other for 7 seconds. You're like, all right, this guy actually works out. Maybe we can actually have a cool conversation about lifting weights and stuff, because not one other person on that desk really did much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we used to drive them crazy talking about CrossFit all the time. I finally got Dave over there, and I think I started in 2010. Dave started about, I would say, a year late. I was always looking for something. I read about it in Men's Journal, and the idea of CrossFit was so new. They just opened this one in Hoboken. The only other one I knew of, and I used to check out their website all the time, was Black Box in New York. There was really like no information about it. It was just like, there was the website, and it said, this is how much it costs. And you have to take these like foundations classes before you can start. And it could be dangerous, and it looks scary. And I was like, I want to do this. And when they finally opened one in Hoboken, and my work schedule changed around then too, because it was out of work a lot earlier. I went over and signed up for a free trial class, and I was in right after that. So that's how. And I also read an article in Men's Journal. I was trying to find that article. It was it was a beach workouts, and I don't know if it was like Annie Sakamoto and like those original people, but doing pull-ups on a beach in California. And it was like very military based, and I was into it. And then I saw this Black Box place, and it really sparked my interest.
Yeah. And so this is hard to even for us to relate to. This is big time social media. Facebook was out there, but you couldn't, like right now, if you ever want to go size up a gym to see if you want to see what it's like, just go to Instagram and just look at some of their posts and their stories. Right. You had none of that back then. Like they had a website, like you said, was pretty low key. And you couldn't.
No pictures.
Yeah, no, like YouTube videos, nothing. And CrossFit was still kind of somewhat near the inception stage where you just were trying to figure out what it was.
Back in 2010, there may not have been more than maybe 1,000 affiliates at that time. There are 13,000 now.
Yeah.
Back then, not many.
We can touch on just like some of that those CrossFit Hoboken days, because the coaching at that gym, in my opinion, even to this day, I would say was pretty high quality. But one thing Chris noted when we were talking about this was none of them had a lot of experience, because it was just so close to the starting point of CrossFit Hoboken. So Taff worked out there. We were constantly talking about it. I did free trial classes. At some point, Chris had enough presence there, and that Craig Parcells, who we should probably talk about a little bit, he offered Chris an internship. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, Craig Parcells, he was the co-owner of CrossFit Hoboken, and he really did a lot for a lot of people. And Bennett too. Bennett also too. Bennett was my first coach in the free trial class I did. But yes, they asked me if I wanted to start interning. And I never was in a position of being in charge of a class or anything like that. And I of course said yes, but I was very skeptical of like, I don't think they made the right decision asking me that. But I mean, they trained us as coaches. There was actually a lot of training as coaches, and I was terrified of it. And actually, Sam, I remember when you started coaching, you said surgery is easy. This is hard. And I was thinking, you know what? I've like, I had to speak in some boardrooms about energy and stuff like that. But this, when you're standing in front of your peers, and they're better at some movements than you, and they've been doing CrossFit longer, why are they going to believe me type of feel? But anyway, Craig used to throw us into these crazy things. I remember one time we had to know we had to be prepared as interns. And on a Saturday, they got all the members to go, and they broke off into small groups, and we had to teach the members a front squat or an overhead squat or something like that. I was assigned a group, and I walked over, and Erin Law in the group, she looks around and goes, "So who's the coach here?" And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, this is awful. And it was so bad. The first like description of a front squat, everyone went to PVC and everything. I was stuttering. It was horrible. But those things really make you better.
Yeah. Craig was ahead of the times in several ways. I actually just talked to Craig a few months ago, and he has this sense about him that he can kind of, you ever meet someone that they're just ahead of the time. Yeah. And what we had to do as interns, and what Chris is talking about right now, is, and if you own a gym and you're trying to improve the coaching, this is something that maybe you want to put into practice. This is what they do at the level 2 now. At the level 2 CrossFit certification, Craig was doing this way before. Yeah, is you have to, and this at a level 2, they break you into groups with other coaches also getting their level 2, so that you are talking to people that know what they're doing. But that's a huge part of the level 2 is you have to teach someone a push press, a deadlift. And honestly, when you coach for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, you forget some of like the basic things and you get ripped apart too. You have someone watching you, which in that situation was Craig. And after you're done stuttering your way through the whole thing, you get told 10 things that you did wrong.
Yeah.
It's tough, but it really is the best way to learn.
They had a camera like on a tripod. They were filming all of us. And like I figured this is my last day. It's my first and last day as a coach. Yeah, Craig was young. He was only 20. He was like 26 too. And he was running this. It became a very big gym and he had a lot of, then there was a whole intern class of coaches that came on.
Yeah.
And you were in that.
Yep.
Also, and he would bring in people. I wrote down. Remember that guy Del
Blanco,
was
yeah,
like a
big guy.
time trainer kind of guy in the city. And they all had the look,
Right.
like the big the mohawk,
Yeah,
and I felt so out of place. Like,
Yeah.
I had a day job and everything, and these guys just were really good coaches, and it was really cool to be around these kind of people.
Yeah, it started exposing you to a different kind of culture, and I think that's one thing that we learned early on that we tried to bring to Bison. Is the culture makes everything. And the culture starts with the coaches, yes, or the owners, yes, but it does have a way of trickling its way down to longtime members, or if you want to call them main members, the ones that are very involved in the gym and socially. And it all starts, if there was not a good culture with Craig and then the coaches and then the interns, I don't think that place would have worked out long term. And they got it before a lot of others. And I'll tell you what, a lot of gyms came from CrossFit Hoboken.
He had a lot of people starts.
Yeah,
there,
like
right?
908, which if anyone from 908 is listening to this, we have as much respect for 908 as any CrossFit in the area.
Carol's great.
Yeah, Tim and Aaron. I think Tim definitely started at Hoboken. Did Aaron?
I don't know.
I don't need. But we know that gym started at Hoboken.
Right.
CrossFit Bayonne was there for what?
CrossFit Bayonne, yeah.
CrossFit Jersey, Bison.
Bentonville, CrossFit Bentonville.
Oh, yeah.
Joseph Fudo. He opened one up. Yeah. They moved down for Walmart. His wife worked for Walmart. And
Fayetteville, Arkansas. Yeah.
Caldwell, Martha.
Yep. CrossFit Caldwell. Yeah. I mean, if we did this, we could probably come up with a dozen gyms that really came from Hoboken. And that's the case with a lot of gyms that were around in 2009, 2010, 2011 that were doing it right. And it all started off like with that culture of, hey, make sure your coaches are doing it correctly, which I guess we can probably get into this at some point. We can even talk about that now in terms of what does correctly even mean. Even though the coaches at Hoboken didn't have a ton of experience just because it was a young gym, they always held us to a tight standard.
Right.
They were, and I think that's part of the reason why we're a little tight with it here during the Open and judges is that's how we started off. And you want to be as objective as possible with so many different things with CrossFit. And the only way to be objective is to have a standard. And then you have to hold the standard. Who holds the standard? It's all about the coaching. I remember Maris and Stefan, they were the first people to tell me I wasn't squatting low enough. I wasn't locking out my elbows. I wasn't doing things correctly. And it made me a better athlete. But now, even to this day, here I am talking about them on a podcast 10 years later about how important it was and how important it is if you're starting a gym, if you're running a gym, to hold standards for movement, not just for performance, but for the culture overall.
Yes.
The culture back then, just for CrossFit itself, it was radical. It was a counterculture. It was basically a big FU to organized fitness at the time. There was just a thought that you guys were bucking the trends, right? And doing something that no one had done, or at least synthesizing something that no one had really put together before. I see videos of people working out back then, and they just looked very deliberately not corporate, not vanilla.
Yeah. I remember one of the first things Chris told me about when he was trying to talk me into this when we were sitting at our training desk. He had said, yeah, these guys, it's like a warehouse. I'm trying to picture this in my head. He's like, the lights don't work sometimes. And these guys coming in business suits. And at the time, I think you were talking about Bennett or Stefan. Like the coach comes in like a business suit. And then he goes from white collar to all of a sudden this industrial warehouse, dirty CrossFitter.
Yeah.
And there was something really intriguing about that.
That's what attracted you guys? Was that one aspect of it?
Yeah. The other thing that, I don't know if do you realize that the workout attire was different. It was board shorts.
Yeah, really baggy.
T-shirts.
Yep.
Not like the cut sleeve Under Armour, like the wick away that I was wearing doing kickboxing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, wow, like this is raw. Like these guys don't care. They look like they're going they're surfing or like going to the beach.
No mirrors in the gym.
Yeah.
Not a single one.
No mirrors. Yeah.
And even how back then were you able to correct yourself? Like right now, if you're a CrossFitter that starts in 2022 and you want to, all right, I want to find some videos for cleans or snatches or muscle ups or How do I improve my butterfly pull-ups? There's so much content out there now. You can't even get 10% of the way through it before you have it down. What was it like? What would you do if you like on a day where you're like, all right, I have thrusters and pull-ups in tonight's workout? What would you do?
Yeah, you had to go to open gym and just practice and practice. I mean,
And video yourself.
because every coach's style was different. Like everybody has a little bit of a different kip. Everybody has a different form in the deadlift. And I had to film myself, and I couldn't get the cleans to me. Like mine didn't look like everyone else's. And really what I finally figured out myself was I wasn't releasing the bar all the way to my shoulders and letting it land. I was kind of like catching it with my hands. Just something simple like that. That took me like a year to find like to figure out why can a little guy who's cleaning a lot more than me, and I'm like, I must be doing something wrong. And my cleans didn't look good. And like, I had to watch tons of video of myself, kipping, clean, snatches, even deadlifts, everything. I had to do it. Like I had to figure it out myself.
So that's what I want to get to.
Yeah.
A lot of, I don't want to say self-made because we had so much coaches, but we didn't get a ton of, if I wanted help on my snatches, I had to pay $100 for a personal training session.
Yeah.
And even that, it didn't help that much. Not because it was cool, it was one session. So you're not going to learn that much in one session. But this is why sometimes I probably, to a fault as a coach, I always call this like a 50-50 relationship. I will meet you halfway, but if you don't come halfway, I'm not going to come get you, that kind of thing. You really are capable of teaching yourself a lot with the proper guidance in front of you. If you have the right person watching, if the right person sending you little tidbits in here, and we're good examples of that because Chris and I, neither one of us are really naturally good athletes. I wouldn't say. Like we played sports.
You're like above average.
Right. If we went and did like a speed, agility, power, strength test, like an NFL combine, like we would be average to below average. And we learned these things because we had a little bit of an addiction to it, but we were both relentless in trying to teach ourselves little things or just watching. I tell beginners all the time when I do that, I'm like, come early if you can and watch the class before you 15, 20. I used to do that every single day unless I worked out at the first class of the day. I'd always get there about a half hour early and time it so that I could watch the class do the workout before me. And you just watch. That's how I learned butterfly pull-ups, toes to bar, double unders. And I think that's a huge thing, a takeaway that I think we get away from. Like our society is so built on, we always are asking for help, and we should, but do we lose our independence a little bit with this stuff?
Yeah.
If you didn't have that independence when you were trying to learn cleans, I don't think you would have ever clicked.
No, definitely not. I wanted to know how to do it. Right. I really wanted to know. I wanted to do this. Like it was important to me.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen I've seen a couple old videos of you guys back then doing grace for time, the two of you.
We should resurface that. Yeah.
When you guys watch those videos of you, what do you think about? I know what I think about when I see you guys do that. Basically, how far you guys have come in terms of your technique, ability. What was heavy back then and what was considered good is now an average day on the whiteboard for most people.
For sure.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, I think the benchmarks, I think those times are similar, but a regular WOD here back then, it would have crushed us.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have crushed
Yeah,
us.
the programming has been elevated so much. And one thing I like to see when I see our old videos of Grace from, I think the one you're referencing is from 2011. And we were both like, I don't know, 230. So proud of it. But the funny thing about it, I want other people to see, I'm big on, if someone else has done it, I can do it too. I'm big on that. And there are so many new people in our gym that they get so frustrated so quickly because they're not as far along as they think they should be because they've been doing CrossFit for 8 whole months. I wish I had some other videos of me trying to learn pull up the kip, the toes to bar,
And you learned the butterfly kip before the kip.
Yeah.
You had a hard time getting the regular kip.
Yeah, the kipping was hard for me on the pull-ups. And even double unders to this day, I still struggle with them. But I couldn't figure out how to do 5 in a row. Like I have a lot of people right now, for whatever reason, I think it's just because we did a lot of long double under workouts at the gym. Okay, maybe we should have a seminar one Saturday. I'm like, I get it. Maybe we'll try to arrange something. But I said, just keep chipping away at it. And I tell them about the open workout from 2012. The workout was 12 minutes long. You had to do 150 wall balls, 90 double unders, 30 ring muscle ups. It's funny that 90 was all you had to do, but back then it was a hard skill. And I did the 150 wall balls in 6:30. And then for the rest of the 5 minutes, I did 35 double unders. I did 35 double unders in 7 minutes. And like, I want people to know that's where we started, but I didn't give up. I'm not the kind of person, and I think a lot of people are, but some don't understand perspective of time. It just takes time. And if you keep chipping away at it, like fitness, in my opinion, is one of the things that you really put a lot of effort into, you will reap rewards. You can't say that about everything in life.
Where did you guys go from then? You guys were there, you're at Hoboken. And then what gave you guys the idea we need to start our own gym at this point?
Yeah, that actually, I mean, we didn't talk much about it before the day that we applied. I was looking for some small spaces to open a place in Hoboken to do maybe some personal training, like a small, I was always looking for something, my exit strategy from the business. All right. So over the years, I had tried a couple different things. I had once gotten my National Academy of Sports Medicine personal training certificate just to get it. Just because it took my mind off of work. I knew I wanted to do something in that field. I didn't know what, but I started studying for that and different things. I remember I was in Jackson Hole with my wife, and I started CrossFit with Devin, and we went to CrossFit Jackson Hole, and we worked out there, and there's Bison all over there, by the way. And one night she was sick. She got sick. We got a pregnancy test. She's pregnant. Okay. So we're at the bar that night. I'm drinking. She's sitting there. I can't believe it. And I said, we should call our kid Bison. There's like Bison, like they're like squirrel out there. Like they're all over the place. She's like, what if it's a girl? I'm like, we'll be Bison with a Y. Y. So she's like, that would be, why don't you name your gym that? She said, like the one I was going to open in Hoboken, the little one. That was in my head. And then, but it had been another, I think, 6 months before one slow day at work, me and Dave talking about CrossFit, annoying everyone on our trading desk. And I think it was Rhee. He just says, why don't you two idiots just open one? And
we kind of made eye contact between the monitor.
and I'm like, I have a kid on the way. And Dave's, I'll quit tomorrow. And our boss is sitting right there. Like we sit right next to our boss. And he was like, he helped us out. You know, and I'm like, Webby's a great guy. Webby really helped us out with a lot of different things. He also probably wanted to steal our customers. You know.
No, and also at the same time, like I had been in the job now, I think for 3 years, and I by no means was unhappy, but I also, similar to Chris, I didn't see myself doing it forever, and it never gave me like a lot of fulfillment. Someone that's really into signs that says, because I'm a Capricorn, that I want to get a lot of fulfillment from work. And now here I am 10 years later. It is a big part of what makes me happy and I never really felt like I was doing that much. I was just going there, trying to make money, go home. And no shame in doing that. That just wasn't what made me happy. And once this actually became, you guys should just go open up a gym too. Hey, would you ever want to do it? Because I was into coaching at that point. And I was really like, I dove head first and I was all about it. And I actually think it made me worse at my broker job because I just stopped caring. And that's a fault of mine. When I don't really care about the work I'm doing, I'm not that good of a worker.
Yeah.
I could see myself just slipping away. We also had a really dry run at work. I remember it was like we were just like, everyone stopped making money. And I was like, what are we doing here? And then Chris was like, would you do it? And I was like, I'd quit tomorrow. Yeah. And Webby and Rhee, they helped us out with a lot of stuff in terms of how to do this. There's a lot of things you have to do initially, just getting your federal ID number, all that kind of stuff.
Webby was very helpful with that.
Yeah, and you know that's how it really started. There wasn't a dramatic story, and I got that question all the time when we first opened. Where does Bison come from? I wish I had a cool story, but my business partner was in Wyoming and he saw some bison on a field. That's where he came from.
Why were you not worried more about the finances and your life and security and all those things? Because for most people, that is a scary, very scary thing.
Yeah, I know. And I asked to refresh my memory last night. I was talking to Deb about it, and I said, what did we say? Like, we give it 2 years or something like that to see if she's like, I think we said 2 years if you could turn a profit. And I was like,
Devin was working at the time, right?
Yeah, Devin was working at the time. I mean, I did have 13 years of experience, but we did have a kid on the way too. We were always very good with saving and stuff like that.
Okay.
But yeah, and Dev's job, her career was like taking off too. Like it was gonna be 2 years, and then if not, run the gym, but also go back to work or something like that. So that's how. So when you left, and then you got a ton of experience coaching because when you left Premont, I was still there.
Yeah, just so people know,
you were coaching all day,
right,
and night.
Yeah, the timeline of this was October I left Premont October 2012. All right, so just keep that date in your mind. October 2012 is when I left, and part of the agreement and me feeling okay about it and living in Hoboken, living in my own place at the time, rent was very high. I knew I was going to be going through the grinder a little bit, but I had money saved up too. Craig Parcells, again, another way he helped us out, he gave me as many classes as I could handle.
Right.
Morning, night, midday. I turned into that guy. Just, hey, we need 3 classes tomorrow morning, 4 classes midday, 2 at night. Took all these personal training clients. Was not making close to enough money I think I was making just over what I had to pay in rent. So I was losing money every month, but it was enough that I could still make do without getting crushed. And this is where our inexperience, one of our first mistakes was, we thought it would take a few months to open up our gym. So this is October 2012. So really, if you want to be, we're actually in year number 10 of business, but that's more because we applied for the affiliate that fall.
Yeah.
But here we are, October 2012, and we immediately go into trying to find spaces. And we're on LoopNet 24/7 looking for spaces, and we eventually found one. And we did want to open up in this area because Chris is from Glen Rock, I'm from Midland Park.
Right.
We had some local connections. We knew there wasn't much competition in the area. We were like,
was there anything out here?
201 was out here and SOAR.
Okay.
And we were okay with being in this because it's far enough removed from those places that we were like, hey, it's not like we're going to be taking their members or not be able to grow because of them.
Right.
We found a space right by Hawthorne Chevy. Technically, it's Wyckoff. The town is Wyckoff. And there's a little industrial complex back there. There's actually a couple gyms back there now. One is, I think, J&A Fitness. DeFranco he used to train his pro athletes back there. But we found this space not knowing what we needed other than the fact that we needed a warehouse. And we found it. It was actually a really cool space. It has some office areas. There was even a little 8x8 room where Chris is like, yo, you could probably sleep here.
That's probably why we didn't get the you heard us say that.
But so we got it and we verbally agreed to take it. And it was, I think, like $4,000 a month. And we were like, all right, man, like this is getting real. We started, and I remember looking at the gym and just picturing people being there, what we're going to paint the walls, where the equipment would be, what our office would look like.
How big was it compared to the original place in Greenwood Ave? Similar size?
It wasn't a bad space.
No,
The location might have not.
But one thing we didn't notice back then is there was 6 parking spots. You just don't, like in Hoboken, this is where our inexperience came in. And if anyone, I had a conversation with someone last summer that wanted to open up an indoor baseball training center. He's coming up from the south. And he was looking in Ridgewood. I was like, good luck. But I was like, the number one thing you're going to get a hard time with in this area is parking. If you don't have enough parking for everyone in your gym and then twice that amount because they want the people that are coming in to be able to park. We deal with that issue today sometimes, right? They're not going to let you open, especially in this area. We didn't even look at that. There was probably 6 parking spaces there, but we just overlooked it. And this is a blessing in disguise, but Chris got a call. We were at work. I already put my 2 weeks in, all that stuff. And she's like, hey, we're out. We can't do the deal. Remember that?
Yeah. I'm like, why? We never got an answer, really.
Yeah. And it was just, we actually never, and this is where Chris and I being brokers, there's a lot of lying in that business.
Yeah.
And some of it's necessary, some of it's not. But there's just a lot of like dirty play in that business. And we immediately were like, Joe DeFranco didn't want to cross it.
Exactly.
I was like, F that guy.
Yeah, we were very skeptical of everybody. We trusted nobody. And to now, it's funny to think about it. We definitely had our guard up. In that sense, I feel like we were not very green. We knew when like people were trying to sneak us and things like that.
Yeah, like we had to, once we got into this, we literally thought we'd find a space, talk to the landlord, agree on a price, open up the gym the next day.
You pay rent, you move in, and
just like you would living. But the first realtor that we really talked to was like, no, you got to go get a lawyer. For what? What do we need a lawyer for? And it's like, you're going to need to change the usage of a building. What does usage mean?
That's a whole thing in New Jersey that, that if
most warehouse spaces, not all, but most have an I2 use, industrial use, and just an I use. We needed a B2 use, a business 2 use that's what gyms fall under. And you can't just go do it. You have to apply for it. You have to get a lawyer to represent you. In that process, there's all these bullet points that lawyer needs to use. And it's usually, we made this joke back then, it's true. It's basically $1,000 minimum for everyone that needs to get involved.
Yep.
So we got shut down at that Wyckoff space. All right. Waldwick space was next. We found a space. It was next to, I still drive by it to this day on Franklin Turnpike, which was
I look at it all the time.
Franklin Turnpike. Nice. Yeah. Like a lot of drive by right next to the Madison Dog Hotel. And we almost took that place. And this place, you had to walk through 6 different hallways to get to it. And there was no
Yeah.
direct door outside. No
we were like
direct
we were getting desperate. And
Yeah.
This place was not good.
Oh, it was terrible.
Low ceilings. There
Low
was like,
ceilings. There was
such
people
a
under
mess
us.
there.
There would have been people under us. We wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to drop weights, but we verbally agreed, we should just do it. We'll make it work. We'll make it work. That got shut down. I think that was more by the town of Waldwick. I think that was an issue with the town because that's when we remember that lawyer's name, the first one, Whitaker.
Oh yeah.
I think he was the one that shut that down. And then we were driving to, was it Little Ferry?
Oh yeah.
Maywood. We were
Yeah.
all over the
Then
place.
we started. This is now a year, so we were freaking out. So
Wow.
we were trying, and then we talked about. We really wanted to open
Right.
somewhere, and we
Yeah.
were getting desperate. So yeah, we looked at. There was a place that was flooded in like Little Ferry or
Yeah.
something.
No bathrooms.
Yeah, it would have been horrible.
But Matt, these are the kind of things I want to tie all that to the fact that everything happens for a reason. Whether you believe that or not, if we did open at that Waldwick space, it would not have worked. We probably would have had to shut down. And then we don't know any of you guys. If we opened in Little Ferry, I don't even know where Little Ferry is right now.
I know. I think it's the only time I've been there.
Yeah, where would I live? Who would we know? Who would have joined our gym? We wouldn't know. Like, that's one of the biggest things that it always humbles me a little bit. I wouldn't know any of you guys, any of the Bison members, if we opened up far away just because we felt desperate. Personally, my financial situation was getting worse and worse. I had moved out to Hawthorne with Ash. So I dragged this pretty innocent girl out of Hoboken because I told her I was going to open up a gym.
How long were you guys dating at that point?
Man, if I get this date wrong, I'm going to get in trouble.
I know.
I'm probably looking at 8 or 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, that was a good catch. I'm not gonna Oh my God. No, but she, we'll talk about her a little bit later too, but she, we moved out here and I think, how did we get a hold of the Midland Park space? Was it just a realtor? He brought it to us, right?
Yeah, I think this guy's
Sash?
right? Abdi.
Oh, ripped. Yeah.
He found the spot, and
He was like, yo, Midland Park. And my eyes perked up. He was like, that's exactly where we want to be. The central location to Glen Rock, Wyckoff, Ridgewood. I'm from Midland Park.
yeah.
I grew up here. I go see the space, and I still remember to this day going there and Chris sending me a text right after. He's still at Prebon, by the way.
Right. I used to wait for these texts.
And I'm like,
you were going to see the
Yeah.
place, and I was like wanted the information.
and I'm watching like
Well,
my bank account go down. Like I think at this point I have $700 to my name. And I'm like hoping, and this is just a godsend, this place, the space. The guy shows me the warehouse. He goes, hey, we're going to put up walls here. And I don't even think he finished the sentence. And I said, we're done. We'll take it.
Yeah.
And I texted Chris. He just said, do you see it? That's what he asked me. And I was like, yes.
Yeah, that's all I need. Can you see this
Yeah.
working out?
Do you see it? I still remember like looking at my text and seeing it
We're
that.
about the narrowness.
Yeah, we come from CrossFit Hoboken, very square box. This was a very long rectangle. But again, I think maybe even part of our desperation factor was we're taking it.
Yeah.
It's in the town we want. It's got parking. And this was late summer, I think. Late summer is when we found it. And we were
Yes.
told by them, hey, it's going to take a month or two. I'm like, done, let's go.
They're going to put up a wall to separate these storage spaces
Yep.
to units.
At this point, we
That's all
ordered,
we thought we really needed.
and we ordered, about $30,000 worth of equipment.
Right.
Rigs, bars, rowers, wall balls, all that stuff.
30 grand? You charged it or you paid for it?
Yeah, no, we actually put a lot of it on. American Express will give new businesses, at least if your credit's good, I think like $13,000. So some of it went on that, and then we paid for the rest of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it was foolish to buy it because we didn't know that it was going to take another 5 months to open up the gym.
This is just the start. This is just the start of a whole new slew of problems. I mean, okay, so
the emotions that we went through were so up and down. Like we were so like, we found it.
yeah,
Like we this is the moment. Like we would tell our families at this point, I'm looking at
it's like, what's up with Bison? What's going
Yeah.
on? It was like, oh, we've already failed. Like it sucked. Like it was embarrassing.
It was very embarrassing. And so that at that point, we're like, okay, move in. Okay, what do we need to do? But
And then it took another 5 months for you guys to open.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to listen to the Herd Fit podcast. Be on the lookout for next week's episode.